What's up, guys? How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to Colorado Canatopia. Good to see everybody on our Monday broadcast. We got something special for you today. So, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm nice and stoned.
For sure.
So we went out today and visited Eden Supernatural Garden, which was really, really cool. We got some cool footage to show you guys of our little tour up there. And I was super, super stoked to just kind of be able to go up there. This is about the third or fourth time I've been up there, and just to be able to show off more what they're doing, and then to be able to sit down and get a really solid, interview with the owner, who's also named James, and get some cool insight on what it's like to operate a commercial farm on that aspect. So, yeah, it was an absolute blast. I know this was your first time visiting it, so yeah, what's your take on that whole thing?
You know, it was pretty awesome to go through a cannabis greenhouse that had more than just cannabis plants in it. Being able to see essentially a whole array of different plants really stuck with me in the first impression, where I was able to see not just little microgreens, but guy had big old trees in the back, it was pretty cool. It was aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, no, it's really crazy how that whole thing works, that the whole aspect of regenerative farming, and the fact that they're not throwing out media and everything that they bring in. I don't know, it's really weird. And then to be able to see so many variety of plants play a role in the production of cannabis, like the chop and drop he was talking about at the farm, where they basically, when they don't have cannabis plants in those beds, they just grow aloe vera and different.
There's so much aloe there. So much.
Banana trees in the back. You'll see the big old banana tree in some of the pictures. What's up, Danny? What's up, Chris? What's up, Tamara? What's up, Aaron?
What's up, Cree?
Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for popping in. Sorry, we just kind of jumped into this without really giving you guys acknowledgement, but I'm just super excited about this whole thing, because it's always a fun experience going to a commercial grow if you haven't visited one, and to see one like this that is almost like being in a jungle, it feels like, because of the fact that there's different plants growing, and you've got beds and beds of cannabis everywhere, some tall, some short. There was a section where they were going through a pheno hunt, so it's really cool to kind of check that out in person.
What's up, Chris? What are you growing on right now, man? Berry white herb in J tonight. Right on, man. Appreciate all the tags, guys. If you're tagging your friends, I really appreciate it. Be sure to tag your friends, like the video. There's little reminder buttons you guys can press, and if you need additional reminders, I have a profile that you can actually friend request, that I'll send you a private message sending you reminders of the show. Speaking of which, we do got giveaways going on here.
Yeah, so before we get into the interview that we did with James from Eden Supernatural Garden, we'll do our first giveaway, which is going to be, on our first giveaway, we've got a dope little straw. So just a sickle dab straw thing going on right there. And then we've also got some disposable one-hitters. I figure the dab straw is a cool on-the-go type thing. So sometimes, in case you got some flour and you're on the road and you need a puff or two, these things last for, a couple decent rips through, and then they're disposable, recyclable. So these are really, really cool to have. Yep. So that's what we're giving. That's what we've got up for our first giveaway. We do offer, I'm going to let James explain the white elephant deal on our giveaway. So, I'll let you get into that.
So essentially, we got a white elephant going on. Right now, when you win a prize, we allow you to still enter the giveaway, and if you happen to win again, you have the option of stealing that prize, and we will re-roll for your last prize that you previously won, or we will just continue to re-roll for the one that you did not want to keep. So pretty simple rules. The only stipulation is the winners from the previous week will not be eligible for taking their prize from the previous week that has already been mailed to them. So that was the general post, is that we mail the mail at the end of the week. So at the end of the week, that's the cutoff date. It's kind of a weekly basis type of game, but we're going to do it just for December and, kind of enjoy yourself, have fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, we appreciate it. What's up, Danny, Skylar, Joseph? How you guys doing, man? It's good to see you all popping in here. We really appreciate all the love you're showing. Yeah, we're super stoked on these. Dude, I love being able to do these giveaways because I know as we get bigger, the giveaways will get sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker.
Oh, yeah.
And I've learned a lot on podcasting just over the last week. It's kind of a cool thing. So I have a feeling like this is going to be a really fun thing. And I really support, like I always try to remember our, the viewers that are hanging in very first, because those guys going long term, like who's been with us the longest. Yeah, kind of going back into, our tour with Eden Supernatural Garden. It is, so here in Colorado, we've got a lot of indoor facilities. And one of the reasons why I kind of hold this farm in such high regard is the fact that they've taken a level on gardening to, especially commercial cultivation of cannabis. They've taken a direction that I think a lot of people either don't know about, they don't think it actually works, or they really don't see a reason to go outside their realm of thinking. So it's just really, really cool to be able to check that out. So,
there is a lot to see there. I've been into a commercial experience myself, but going there and seeing the natural KNF experience was definitely something to see all in its own. And I really enjoyed the company we had with James. He's a very good guy, and he was able to show us all kinds of interesting things about the garden. And
yeah,
I was pretty stoked going in there and just smelling all the different terpenes coming off all the different sides. Like as soon as you turned you smell something else and you'd be like, oh. and I really miss that from being in that type of environment. It's one of the things that's
it's crazy.
The free smells, man.
Yep.
Oh man.
Oh, Danny, dude, I really wish I could have been there too. I caught some. I tried to catch some of that, but I was so slammed yesterday. But yeah, I caught a little bit of the live, and I wish I could have been there. But I'm coming out in April, dude. So, yeah, bring all that, bring all those cooks to that place, and we'll get down. I think that's a squish off going on. Big V and Zach and those guys put that all together. I cannot remember the name of it to save my life, but yeah. Hopefully you can come too, but we can.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that. Me and a buddy of mine, David, are gonna be judging the squish off as like certified ganjier, so that's gonna be super fun.
That's awesome. That'd be dope to get some footage.
Dude, I'm always about good food too, dude. I love good food, and that's what I think drew me to gardening initially. Was my uncle? He had this crazy garden in his backyard, and he was such a killer cook. And I couldn't ever figure out. I was like, why is your eggplant parmesan better than everybody else's eggplant parmesan? Because we went out and picked that eggplant and everything right before we cooked it. And I kind of started to realize, like, oh, this is what happens when you grow your own food and how this, and then that just transferred into cannabis. And now I'm going back into food, and how can cannabis and food coexist and make even better cannabis? Yeah. So, Dude, I have not had Clayton's food. So Clayton Nittig is he's like the founder of Third Eye Organics.
Okay.
And he makes inoculated like biochar.
Oh, cool.
So his biochar, I saw when I went out in Missouri and judged the Hillbilly Cup. It was really funny because you could tell who was growing like organic, and everybody that was growing organic was using his biochar. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, like the top 3 people were growing like organic and with some form of either homemade soil or pre-made soil, and I'm almost positive they were all using Clayton's biochar. Oh. And I'm trying to get it out here in Colorado because I haven't tried it personally, but everything I've seen, it's phenomenal. So I'm trying to get some of his stuff out, and then he's also got a thing that he just started called Bugnetics, which is it's like a trio of like predator mites, I want to say lacewings, and some kind of nematode or something. And he hooked up with this bug lady and learned a lot, and now he's got like this beneficial that goes along with this biochar. The lady he learned from apparently learned to breed her insects in biochar. So it's this kind of crazy circle. The family I have out in Missouri is insane, and I think it kicked off from Brother Mendel because he was based out of Missouri when he kind of kicked everything off, and I don't know. There's so many people out in Missouri that are doing some killer stuff, and I'm like, bring some of that out here to Colorado, dude, because we need like that biochar and the beneficial insects. Like we need more of that in Colorado industry.
I would also like to see a lot more of that ocean type of stuff, like the seashell stuff and like the kelps and stuff like that.
Yep.
We don't really have too much of that around here.
Nope. That's what gets to be really, really cool about the K&F complex, like concept. And we kind of talk about that in the interview is like, okay, so you can't necessarily, it's like, might be harder to source that, or maybe we don't have that. But like, if you wanted to start your own thing, then you can definitely source some of that from lakes and streams and stuff, and that's kind of where that K&F concept is like, oh, we can't go get that, but let's go fishing for a day, dude, and then come back with some fish heads and make some fish amino type ferments. And I don't know, it's really cool to see all these different tools you can use. It's super, super dope. The K&F concept that's why I'm excited about this whole interview, dude.
100%. Well, let's get going on
that's what I'm saying.
That straw interview, huh?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a giveaway.
That giveaway.
Yeah.
I'm too high. Hey guys, let's ask this straw questions.
All right. So, as always, we're trying to do 3 giveaways per show. So before we get into this interview, we are going to do a pick a number giveaway for the straw and the quick hitter. Be sure
to tag your friends on this, guys. Make sure they can get in on the giveaways too.
Yeah, tag your friends and tag at least 2 friends and pick a number, and we will get going on this giveaway.
Yeah, so this we're gonna do. What do you think? 1 through 25?
Yeah, let's do 1 through 30 just to even round it out.
Okay.
So, tag a friend and pick a number between 1 and 30, and we will get that going.
All right.
All right. First person to, what did I say? 2 friends? Tag 2 friends and pick a number. Don't forget to pick a number. Don't forget to tag your friends. Picking numbers, tagging friends. I always like this because everybody guesses like the same numbers. It gets to be really, really close. Picking a number between 1 and 30. Nobody's hit it yet, so keep guessing. If you've already tagged your couple friends, just keep spitting out numbers till somebody hits it.
Yeah, keep hitting numbers.
Yep.
Keep guessing.
Keep on guessing. We got to have a winner. Somebody's got to win, right? There we go.
Ooh.
We appreciate you guys.
Skylar won.
Holy shit, that was a fast one.
Skylar.
Good job, Skylar. Congratulations, buddy. We appreciate you.
He hit it twice. He really wanted it.
Well, I think there's some kind of lag because all of a sudden we've got a bunch of comments dumping in.
There's a little bit of a lag on comments there. But we appreciate you guys participating. Skylar, you won the straw and the hitters.
Straw and the hitters. Good job, buddy.
I can drop those off to your house, no problem.
Yeah, he's local.
That's he's local.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
He's a good guy. We reviewed his flower.
Oh, okay.
A while back, yeah.
Okay.
And here's a salve.
Oh yeah, he was telling me.
Well.
He does a lot of edible stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice.
All right. You think we should kick it to the interview then?
Yeah, let's. All right, guys. So without further ado, I think we're going to jump over to the interview and, yeah, really enjoy because this is me and James and the owner of Eden. His name is also James. And we're just sitting down kind of listening to his journey and how he came to be what he's doing. And so, yeah, just some cool stuff. So check it out, guys. All right, we're ready. So, James, thank you so much for joining us on Colorado Canatopia.
You bet.
We really appreciate the tour of your garden. Tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into cannabis commercially and prior to commercial industry and all that.
I'd like to say that as far as your question goes, my name is James Brinkerhoff Jr. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. A lot of my folks are from Denver, my grandfolks and my great-grandfolks.
Okay.
My parents had me while they were going to college down there. Traveled around a little bit as a kid and then came back here in the late 80s with my mom after my folks had got a separation. And kind of right around that time that I moved back here is right when I started dabbling with cannabis.
Okay.
And probably being that pre-teenager, kind of semi-troubled from what was going on.
Yep.
And probably like a lot of other kids, my first experiences were from like older cousin, older brother type influences, right?
Yep.
And they'd invite me down to Red Rocks or McNichols, somewhere down there, you know, for concerts, Grateful Dead and stuff. And so that's kind of how I fell into it. And so thinking kind of way back then, probably in 1989 was the first time I grew a plant.
Oh, yeah.
And it was right up the road here.
No kidding.
Yeah, right outside of Aspen.
Nice.
And I went out into the woods there and I planted like 4 or 5 seeds that I got out of a bag. And sure enough, those little suckers grew in the summertime. And I used to go out there, hike out there with, you know, jugs of water and just water it. That was my first experience. Obviously, I kind of started using it more a little off and on through middle school and high school. And somewhere kind of towards the end of high school, I really kind of started to get into it more. Started to read High Times, started to kind of look around at guys growing hydroponics and all that stuff that was going on in magazines. And then, I got an opportunity to go to school in Eugene, Oregon, and moved out to the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Where that really kind of like blew the top of like how much more people were kind of into it.
Right.
Back in the 90s.
Expanded your network a
This is
little
the
bit
early
more.
90s. And kind of people had told me like Northern California and Southern Oregon is where like a lot of the cannabis kind of scene and stuff is happening. So I kind of ran away, barely made it through high school, ran away out there to NorCal. And actually I was in Eugene, Oregon for a year. And then finally I found my way into Southern Humboldt County, a little town called Garberville. And
Beautiful place, by the way.
I met some kids in Hawaii that told me, hey, you got to go to Garberville. It's like, this is where like the heart of the cannabis deal is.
Okay.
So I guess this was 1994 or 5.
Okay.
And so I headed down to Garberville And I dropped out of college, and I quickly got a job up in the mountains there, working for like basically, I mean, they were like cattle ranchers.
Yeah.
But what nobody knew was like in the grasslands, there's all this cattle, but in the woods, it was loaded with ganja. It was loaded with weed.
Okay.
So I got a job just like working as a laborer for like a pretty big cultivation operation.
Okay.
And big to me was like 10,000 plants back then in the 90s. I thought that was a lot. It was more than I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I kind of worked like a regular job as a laborer, in that operation.
And this is pre-215.
This is pre-215. 215 happened in 96.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
So this is pre-215, like 94, 95.
So there was still some sweat for you just working in that field.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to like hike the clones out 4 miles. And like me and 3 other guys had like a tray, 75 tray, 100 each. And then we'd go back and we'd have to have like 2 bags of black gold on each shoulder. And we'd have to hike like 3 miles back with the black gold because, they didn't want to bring trucks into the grow. No tire marks.
Yep.
Yeah.
No tire tracks.
Trails.
So you'd kind of come in from the side of the grow, not like the main entrances.
Yeah.
You come in from the side, walk in, and so that's kind of how I got started. And it's like a classic story in most other industries. Like I really started at the bottom. I watched how they did it. I watched how they did their thing. And then, I started to guard. There's all kind of other jobs in there. Guard the crop for us. And then I started to process and help them learn how to trim.
So you had your hands all over. It's from, like you said, from very start, like hauling in cuttings and prepping soil to watering, trimming, pruning, pretty much all the way through. Were you, at that time, were you guys using chemical nutrients or were you guys on an organic approach?
It was all chemical.
Right?
Yeah. So they used to have this stuff called, I'm pretty sure it was called Osmocote.
Okay.
And basically it looked like a little nerd's candy. It's like a coated, like, little sugar pellet.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, so it's like first 45 days nitrogen, second 45 days phos, and then high potassium at the end. So it was like a time released. So you basically we were just taking Black Gold Pro Mix, and then like, I don't know, it was like 2 cups of these pellets. Yeah. And that was it. And then just straight water. Because those pellets like time released everything for the whole cycle of it.
Very nice.
So these guys had it down pretty, there was no organics. And some of them did like really creative stuff. Like some of them put them up high up in the trees and like would tape pots to the trees and then run spaghetti irrigation wire.
Very cool.
And, just I think it's to escape deer, wildlife, all that kind of stuff that was bothering them. Yeah. And then also like for the helicopters coming through, they would have it tucked like into the canopy, taped to the tree. So some of them did that for a while. But yeah, everything would be like on drip emitters. And they would go in there like during the off season and like drop in water tanks, bury them in the ground, and then cover them all up. And we'd be out there and we'd dig like trench lines down the natural irrigation trenches and we'd bury the water line. So if you're flying from above, you don't see any of that stuff. So anyway, we did that for a while and this kind of moved up. So then when 1996 hit, I was like one of the first ones in line to get my 215 card. Okay. And I also was kind of like one of the first ones in the area to like start putting it out in the veggie garden and say, hey, this is my 15 plants. Because everyone was hiding it really hardcore back then.
You were that
like first year in 96, 97, people, even in 95 a little bit, someone started putting it out and like tying silk roses. So when the helicopters came by, it looked like it was like a bush full of flowers.
Very cool.
So that was kind of the camo that we did then. But yeah, we started coming out in veggie gardens and putting like a garden around a house. And you had this private how big can we get these like redwood trees with pineapples, right? So we started like building these tables, like kind of like chicken coops, kind of like this big kitchen, this big table I have here. Yeah. And we'd go in our greenhouse and we'd grow these plants up to like May to like 7 feet. We'd grow them so they stretched straight tall. Yeah. We'd pull them out the pot and we'd lay them down
sideways.
And we'd just spalier. We'd pull all the branches out like this, and then we'd chicken wire them to that fence, and they would just be laying down. Didn't even look like ganja. And then about 3 weeks later, that entire thing. So it's like a bush. You tie it down one more time, and then boom, one plant is like a giant carpet.
So indoor growers took that. And it's cool to hear that story because I would tell that to people who are like, what's mainlining? And so I was like, well, back in the day, these old outdoor growers from California would stretch up these plants and lay them basically flat down and create this horizontal stalk to the ground. Yeah. And you get like 16 branches shoot up and they just blow up through the whole veg season. And it's indoors, they'll split it into a Y and do the same thing on a smaller scale. But it's really cool how that process kind of stretched over. Did you ever play around in that time? Did you ever play around with indoor growing at all? Or you were just like, we got the sun, let's do it?
Little bit.
Little bit?
Yeah. I had some little rooms, you know, during the wintertime. We pop a little room in here.
Right.
10 lighter, you know. So, and some people were like, I worked for some people out there that had some serious. And they used to like bury these like containers underground and like have these setups where you go to somebody's house that looked like a grass field and they bring you around the back and it looked like a little like chicken coop. Then you walk in the chicken coop and they pull his hatch. You open that hatch and you be a set of stairs. Mm-hmm. And you walk down that staircase and you go down in there. A big room buried underneath that field of grass. So it's like you get down there, there's 100 lights, you know. And then a little ways down they'd have like a generator buried underground too. Yeah. And then they'd have a little place where they have their little gas thing and they have like they'd make it look like a little kid's like pottery barn. They'd write like pottery on it or something. Yeah. But it'd be like a place where you just like dump all the diesel. So people were very creative in those years.
Yeah, it had to be.
But I was kind of more drawn to the outdoor. Was kind of more fun, and you could grow these massive plants. And those were some fun years, like I said, where everybody was trying to max out their 25 or 50.
Yeah, you're trying to get to pull as much as you could.
But what really happened was they kept pushing these like medical laws and limits. And people really started to abuse it.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, yeah, this is my medical. And they were getting like 10 pounds per plant because they started in January, you know? And, you know, this is my medical. And it's like 40 plants is like 300 pounds or something. Everybody started, you know, a lot of land started selling. The price of land went way up. It was a huge gold rush. A lot of people came out there and from all over the country and came out and started kind of doing that style of growing. Yep. Buy a little cabin, put a fence around it, have a veggie garden. And put your like 25 in.
It's like a little homestead.
And it was like really nice. Like it was a little time where it was like this particular piece of freedom. Yeah. Where we all felt like we've grown our veggie gardens and this little pot garden was making us like $100,000 a year.
Dude, that's how I felt when Colorado did medical in 2008. Like they started it was a little bit of Wild West, but they still kind of spread it out to where you could put like your 6 in your backyard and you kind of felt this like, yeah, I get to do this. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So fast forward from like 96, 97, 98 up until, 2008, 20 years later, you're starting to see the legal market take hold. When did you come up with like, I'm gonna do the commercial thing. I'm gonna get my license and go full in on this. And then from that, what kind of formed Eden Supernatural Garden it is today?
So thinking back, probably around 2006 and 7, there were some drastic market crashes. Yeah. In the old traditional market. And the writing was on the wall.
You knew where it was going.
Yeah. And then around 08, Colorado started speaking up about, hey, I think we're gonna turn this into a legitimate thing. And California was lagging. They just had this medical kind of like gray area. Yeah. So my kids were getting older, and I seen that in like 08, and I told my family, I said, I'm gonna try to give this a go and make this like a real legitimate enterprise. And my kids are growing up, and I want to bring them into a place they can go to school, and they're all raised up in the mountain. Yeah. And my oldest was like born right during harvest. So I literally had to like pull the harvest out of my dry room, which is like my living room. Taking everything out with heaters and everything, and pull everything out of there so my kid could be born. And that's kind of how they were kind of brought into the world, kind of off the grid, up in the mountains. But hey, they get older and they want to be in school, so I brought everybody out here to Colorado and got in line to get one of these licenses here. I started at one of the first dispensaries in South Denver, off of what was that street's name? Downing, South Downing, right near Porter Medical Clinic. In Hamden, right on the Englewood borderline. And so we started a little place down there called Urban Cannabis, and just gave it a shot. And it was much different than what I was used to. I was used to being in the wholesale cultivation and way out in the mountains. And here I was on Main Front Street, with people coming in buying eights from me.
It's like a culture shock.
Like I had never sold an eights since I was like in high school. Like I hadn't sold any eights, And it was a culture shock, and it was a real cool learning experience. So because I actually got to see the people with their medical cards. And,
you saw the system work.
And I saw a lot of people that had injuries and stuff coming in for medical marijuana. And so that's really where I got like so much education and understanding of what this was doing for people. So that was like super awesome and enlightening, but at the same time, it was a very difficult business for me to run. And subsequently, I ended up selling that license off like about a year and a half later. The rules are changing so fast.
Oh yeah,
then you had to come up with like $500,000 to start a grow.
Yep.
Or $1 million to start a grow, and then everything like within 6 months it was like cutoffs and all this stuff. So
yeah.
Anyway, I got back out. I got kind of back into consulting, and recently, I say recently, but this is like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 2016. Finally had my dad. You know, after all these years, I kind of ran from home and done my own thing, and finally had my dad reach out to me and say, "Hey, I've been looking into this, and I think it's finally time. It's like the right opportunity. It looks like the feds have backed off. I don't have to worry about the feds, and let's give this a shot to, you know, do this on a commercial level, you know." And I was like, "Well, I've got experience, you know, doing this on what I would call a commercial level.
Yeah,
you know, I took this to, you know, as big as I could ever imagine it." On the outdoor level. So anyway, we kind of went at this. We decided let's do this, and I told him, "Hey, I want to do something really special here. I've been through I've done all the indoor and outdoor and greenhouses, and I want to make this like as sustainable and organic as possible. And I've got a friend out in NorCal who's been watching these guys on YouTube and stuff make their own fertilizer, and so it's like beyond organic. It's like they wildcraft stuff and they make their own soil, and it's all like cost effective and all this stuff." And so I told my dad, "I want to take you out to Humboldt. They're going to have this little like workshop regen conference, and I want to show you what they're doing." My buddy's been doing it for like 4 or 5 years. He's getting great results in his outdoor. And the cool thing is, he's like, he doesn't use any fertilizer bottles. He doesn't go to the grocery store anymore. And it's like, it's pretty magical, and it'd be really cool to do something like this on like a commercial scale and show people like what's possible with sustainability and with and also the product that comes out is amazing because it's like high biology, and it's creating all this, you know, things with the terpenes and the cannabinoids in these plants. It just seemed like something, you know, to me it was like the final frontier. I'd done all this other stuff. I had been, you know, and I told him, if we come into this, we're going to be like everybody else that uses cocoa A and cocoa B. There's going to be no difference in the weed here.
No, you have to set yourself apart.
I took him out there. He was a little bit reluctant. We get in there, you know, and this little, and I don't know, I think they had to move the venue. I don't know exactly, but we had a small little metal building right at the one log tree house right there. And I bring my dad in there, and it's all like old school, like dreadies and like old school big organic farmers with big old beards. There's my dad with his like blue collar and real clean cut guy. He's got his notepad. He's like ready to take notes. And so I took my dad over there, and we got to hear from all these speakers, Kevin Jodrey and these different genetics guys and Chris Trump and all these different people just talking about, you know, how you're going to have to set yourself apart now that it's all legal. So, we had a good time doing that, and I was really surprised. My dad was like, "You know what? After listening to all that all weekend, let's give it a shot. Let's do it." And he's like, "I didn't think I would be open to this because there's a lot of numbers. This seems like it's very, can't pin it down. There's no SOP. There's no like one way to do it. There's no like recipe formula." So I was very fortunate that he kind of trusted in me. I said, "We're going to be different than everybody else, and we'll figure it out."
And it's fantastic. And that's one thing that I'm going to brag on your guys' grow. And we were kind of talking about this during the tour, but it takes a lot of kind of, I don't want to say confidence, but almost faith in the system that you've been taught. Regenerative farming and Korean natural farming there is no like written formula to say this is how you use it everywhere. So it's very much like when you look at regenerative farming and how you go about applying it commercially, you have to understand that you're taking this on from scratch, and you're going to have to develop your own SOPs based off of the tools that you've learned from the regenerative practicing, like through the KNF practices. But you're also looking at, you know, how can we maintain this enough to be able to write down an SOP so that if I was to leave or somebody was to leave, we would be able to make this continue to function where we've designed it. That doesn't necessarily mean that every exact practice that you're utilizing here is going to work over here but the methodology is still the same.
Exactly.
And that takes a lot of work to build.
Yeah, methodology and framework. You try to have these because it's a living, breathing thing.
Yeah.
And then, like, who knows? I could go 3 hours south of here and might be thrown with a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm getting ready to go to Florida and see, it's going to be a whole new world.
Well, and you'll be able to come back, I think, with so much more. Like, as you move around, and I've learned this through teaching, as you move around, you pick up things that you would have never been exposed to. Out here in Colorado, we don't get exposed to high humidity. We don't get exposed to things that you're going to get exposed to in Florida. So you start to learn that environment and how to approach out there. And that's just one more thing you have in your knowledge base.
Exactly.
I did some stuff down in Louisiana, very similar. And I came back with a whole new understanding on drying flour. Because environmental, like, you have to take a different approach. And it really is fascinating, the rabbit holes that you go down.
Yeah.
And to build a commercial company around that takes some balls, man. I got to give you props. Yeah. And tell us a little bit.
It hasn't been easy.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about Eden Supernatural Garden. This is the commercial cannabis facility that you operate, and you've really turned this into your baby.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to call it Naked, because I was just like saying this is like the most raw, like real. Everything that's in the soil is from right here. There's no like cover up. We're transparent. We're going to show you exactly what's on your product, what's going in the soil. There's no big names. There's no big words. It's sand, silt, clay. It's vegetable compost.
As bare as you can make it.
Yeah, it's like So I wanted to call it Naked, kind of like the Naked Juice. Well, then they shot me down because I said Naked Juice.
Too close.
Could be a problem for the trademark. So we're working with a branding and graphic design team, and they said, how about we call it Eden with the EDUN, and that's nude backwards. But it's also a play on like Eden and Eden.
Dude, I never picked that up.
Yeah, so
that's great.
So I don't talk about I still don't talk about it very much. But they came back and they were like, you wanted to call it Naked, how about nude backwards? And it spells Eden. And it's like a play on the Garden of Eden.
Yes.
But it's also a play on like that nudity, that transparency, that just how that like raw naked juice is like, this is what you get. So that's kind of the concept behind the whole thing, that we were going to create this thing that was like beyond organic, no bottles, try to cut out as many waste streams as we could, try to integrate with the community. So like I was talking about, I try to take the waste from the community, like the grocery stores, like the spent grains from the breweries, try to take that and use that into something positive and turn that into microbial rich soil so that there's like actually the community's feeding your local ganja provider.
Yeah.
Right? So the community's feeding the ganja provider, and then that product that's coming out of there is feeding the community back. And then everything that's kind of made in that, like everything, the stalks, the stems, the leaves, everything gets kind of turned back into that soil. So it's like really a machine and a system that's taking waste and pulling kind of, I like to call it gold.
Yeah.
That's what we're into.
Black
this
gold,
golden
dude.
oil.
Yeah.
Light yellow gold for us, right? For the rosin guys. But yeah, we're making gold out of people's waste streams. And the product that comes out is like, it's pushing like terp levels. And we do a lot of testing. So we're hitting like 10, 11% terpenes. And I see some of my competition. I'm not going to say their names, but like when I look on the packages, it says like 2.5% terpenes or 1.8% terpenes and I'm like, shoot, ours came up 10. Like, that's a big jump. And the only thing that I can blame it on is this, like, organic system that we're...
And that's where it comes from.
And we have some ferments that we put on. We ferment plants. And, like one of our secret, I think, one is, like, our secret magic ingredients that we ferment habanero peppers. Ooh. And that, like, all that capsaicin and stuff, I think it stresses... Creates a stress to where they push out more... like rosin and protection. But yeah, it's basically, the main part of it is the indigenous microbes in the soil, the biology. Yeah. That's really the main concept. That's really what helps like consume and eat all that compost down. Yeah. And then charge it and turn it into food. And
but even that's special. Like, and go into some of that because the indigenous microbes are we all know microbes, the fungus and bacteria has a huge influence on terpene profile and a lot of the expression of the plant. So a lot of what KNF is function around these indigenous microbes, and the fact that they're only like what you use is around here, right?
Yeah.
Like you hike and collect, and
everything's collected around for the mountains here. And really, we try to get diversity. So we go and select different places. Like up here on the hillside, we have a lot of scrub oak. So you can go to places with all this oak mulch.
Yeah.
And you dig down in there, and there's just like strands of mycelium running everywhere in there. And then we'll go up valley, and some of these hiking trails. We'll get up in those big pines, like when you get up above like 9,000 feet. Big pines, and dig around in there, and then there's different kind of mushrooms growing around, and little bit different biology, right?
Right.
So we take all those, then we go down to Vale and go a little bit further from here.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of gotten kind of like passionate about that.
Yeah, working your way upstream almost.
Yeah, and just like different places where different kinds of trees are growing.
Right.
So you're getting different kind of soil and different kind of, and then also on top of it, at different times of year. When the temperatures are fluctuating differently,
getting different.
Then there's different kind of biology that's I think is coming up to the top, and then it goes down. So you collect different times of year and different altitudes in different forests.
Okay,
right. I don't know, man. This is just
it's a trip, dude. It's cool stuff.
I'm like totally nerding out, and I love being outdoors.
Too. So I'm all about that.
It's like my favorite. It's really my favorite part about it is making all the inputs more than just watching for this application is cannabis. But it's way more fun, like being outdoors and running around and collecting all this stuff. But so there's a lot of different variables there where we collect them. And then we basically, before we make the compost, we put it all together.
Okay.
So we take all these collections, put them together in like a tea, and then we spray our substrate, rolled oats, wood chips, rice bran.
Do you got like an SOP where you got a mixture kind of recipe going on for it?
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
So it sounds like you put most of your work into hiking, playing, collecting fungus, bacteria, and then everything that you've collected and built outside of growing cannabis does all the actual growing for you.
Yeah, it does it all.
So it reduces overhead significantly.
Yeah.
Like significant, not just like a small percentage. Like we're talking pretty significantly.
Yeah. I'm not going to quote a percentage right now.
Yeah, you don't have to throw out any hard numbers.
I would say it's well over 25% of savings. If you do it right. And also, it's like I said, it's like, man, all the labor that goes into shipping all this stuff around the country and the jet fuel and everything you're using and the pots and everything and shipping the soil across the country and
the carbon footprint.
All this stuff, it really makes sense when you look at it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is a system where you draw this stuff from within 100 miles.
Yeah.
And it kind of, it's a twofold system. It's like, it's sustainable. That piece is cool, but it also sets you apart as like, you're from this Appalachia.
Yeah.
Or from this terroir or from this region.
Now you're getting into
all your stuff is like coming from the soil, the plants, the ferments. So you can really call yourself, like for somebody that was doing like, this is the Grand Valley. So it's like Grand Valley terroir, but like the people doing this in Humboldt, you can really be like, this is like coming from the redwood forest terroir and from the coastal, my seawater from coastal, it's a lot of cool stuff there, like how they do wines.
Yeah.
So that makes it, not just like it saves on and it's ecological and it's sustainable, but it makes it kind of really fancy and high end too.
It's it really sets you apart.
It can't be replicated really.
No. And we look at that on everything. Like I always use the champagne because that's what everybody's known. Like somebody will go to a liquor store, grab a bottle of bubbling wine, and they'll call it champagne. But it doesn't actually have champagne on the bottle. And the reason why is terroir, appellation of origin. So you can't make champagne outside of Champagne, France.
No, it's just sparkling wine.
Exactly. Because those grapes and that wine and everything was fermented and grown in that area. That is what makes champagne sparkling wine so special is the flavor of that area. And that's essentially what Eden has. Yeah. I mean, when you look at what you were talking about, it is very much like a flavor of a place when we speak on terroir.
And you'll taste and feel the difference.
And it sets you so much apart, even to a point where if I was to take and do the exact same SOPs that James has and operate them in my little area 45 minutes from here in Grand Junction, the flavor would be different because not only that there's a slight temperature change, a slight elevation change. So there is like a little bit difference. It's like, oh, these two people grew the exact same cut, and the cut up in Parachute does just a little bit better because of maybe a cooler night or less hot days or higher, lower humidity, oxygen levels. There's so much that comes into play, and it's fascinating. But the cool thing is you know how to do this outside of cannabis.
It's in the hayfields. I mean, you see Chris Trump out there.
Yeah.
You know, doing some big like pasture land.
Yeah. And
it's working. It's really cool stuff.
Well,
so
and I think
the bigger it scales, the cheaper it gets too. It's
right.
Like the more you scale this, the cheaper it costs are.
Well, and I think that's what's cool is I didn't know. Okay, so I didn't know anything about Korean natural farming or regenerative farming until I got heavy into cannabis. So I've been growing cannabis for probably 15, maybe 20 years. And then all of a sudden this regenerative farming concept drops in my laps. Yeah. And I'm like, what? And so the last 3 years, I've been down this ridiculous rabbit hole that has my mind backwards at night sometimes.
Yeah.
But
no tell.
Dude, it's absolutely insane on kind of this concept of how do we go green? Like cannabis always in my head was like good for the earth, right? It's good for people. It should be good for the earth. And especially growing up and listening to a lot of Rasta Nation type, songs, you're really getting into the culture of what cannabis was, especially down in Jamaica and some of these places in Thailand and Afghanistan where they're farming this from centuries of legacy generation after generation after generation. So there's a livelihood that's attached to it, and they've recognized how to work with Mother Nature and how to make this happen. So there's this very clean part about what cannabis does. And I always thought commercial cannabis should be clean.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is actually, we were talking about this, actually puts back into the system. When we talk about, chemical runoff versus regenerative farming runoff, we're changing a lot as far as moving backwards. So with as regulated as cannabis is, if we really want to make a difference in the environment, it really makes sense to step out into grass and agriculture on general. Just take that hit on traditional ag, really.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
They're tough, right? Because they're really big and they're really used to doing things the way they do it. So, but just small communities can start doing this in their community and really see benefit. For their food sovereignty and their local food supplies.
Yeah, that's super sick.
I think it's great to have, families and local communities embrace this stuff, because maybe the government or some of the bigger companies, they're not embracing it for whatever reasons that they have. And just and a lot of the philosophy behind it is to help the people, is to help the common farmer, help the common farmer be able to farm without having to buy stuff from the big corporation.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Huge props.
I would encourage you guys to continue.
Definitely. So where can we pick up? If I was to suggest to any of my viewers in Colorado, coming through Colorado, where can I score some of that sick flower and concentrates you guys are?
We've mostly been focusing on concentrate lately.
Okay.
So I'm not sure where the flower is right now.
Concentrates, dude. Those rosin. Okay, but that rosin cart you hooked me up with last time we talked. You gave me, it was some kind of, it was like a distillate cart, but it was all rosin.
Yeah.
And it was a blend of something.
Yeah, one of these.
Oh my Lord.
It's a rosin cart. There's no distillate, and it's all rosin.
Those are phenomenal the way down to the last drop.
I'm glad you like it. I'm glad it worked out.
So I highly recommend snagging some of those where he's about to tell you to pick some up.
Yeah, we'll get you to do one of your tests on it.
I want to, actually.
So, if you go to the website, edun.co, there's a locations tab on the menu there, and it should work pretty well. Some of the bigger places we're in are Starbud stores. I think there's 18 of them.
Perfect.
There's Lightshade is all around downtown Denver. I think there's 11 of those. We're in Golden Meds. We're in Cali Herbs. We're in Trees. There's a bunch of them. We're in about 100 different stores. We're down in Durango Telluride. So we're in about 100 stores right now in the state. Like I said, the best place to go is look at edun.co. You can jump on the mailing list there too. And then we shoot out little reminders. Hey, we're dropping this fresh stuff over here this week.
Perfect.
Go check it out. So you can just kind of get into our ecosystem and our world and find out where things are coming down the pipeline. But But yeah, love feedback, and you can hit me up on Facebook /James Brinkerhoff00. Add me there, send me messages. I really enjoy helping people with the product, and I get messages every week.
That's so cool.
Hey, we just tried this 1 gram vape cart, and it's amazing. And
outside of on the cannabis side, if I have a commercial farm that I want your help with, how do I reach out to you through Eden, or do you have a separate email you want me to send, or via Facebook, or?
Yeah, I would just right now. I'm just on my personal Facebook.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And hopefully I'll have a website up and a list coming soon. I'm a little bit behind everything, but yeah, I'm getting ready to go out there and help families and small businesses, institutions, try to take some of these concepts, frameworks, and the system that I've created where I've learned inputs from like a lot of the inputs, like some of the core inputs I learned from Chris Trump from Korean Natural Farming.
Yes. But
I've also added different kinds of compost techniques and compost methods to mix and blend with these. And so I've kind of created this system that I want to help educate people to build soil with. Some of these Korean Natural Farming inputs, certain ways to ferment compost on your own, and really be able to build soil in your backyard. And
that's where it's at.
Yeah, so so that's kind of what we're getting ready to do, and I'm excited about that. And yeah, just helping people connect with this stuff. It's a lot of fun, right? And growing your own growing your own tomatoes. And you see pictures of the garden. I got some banana trees in there, and I got grapefruits. I love to grow all kind of stuff, herbs and everything. So I'm all about it. Yeah.
Do you have any words of advice for our viewers who are just getting into KNF? Like if I'm just starting this whole regenerative practice, where do I start? What would you suggest I begin? Like what rabbit hole do I start? IMO, composting?
Yeah, I mean, I would God. It kind of depends on where you're at. If you have no cash, no money, and you have time, then you could look on YouTube and you could search KNF farming. And you got a couple guys there, Chris, and you got, Eric, what they call Drake. You got these two guys, and they kind of have put out most of the content there.
A lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah, so there's YouTube videos you can go through, and you can go to christrump.com, I believe.
Yeah.
And he was like my personal mentor and so I'm kind of saying that because, and giving Chris some props because I went out and found who I thought was like the master or like one of the masters. Yeah. And then I said, hey, can I hire you? Yeah. I've got this big investment over here and I want to make sure I get somebody who's like a badass to help me do this. So I feel like if you have the money and you want to go fast, spend your money. If you just have all the time in the world, could take you years to learn how to figure that out.
Yes.
And just like anything that I say to anybody that asks me questions about the business or about any of this stuff is really like, if you can get access to the cash and you want to go fast, pay somebody that has like the exact results that you want to see.
100%.
And so verify them. And there's going to be a lot of people claiming, I teach KNF classes.
Yes.
But like, did they do it on 100 acres of macadamia nuts in Hawaii? And did they turn the farm around and make it profitable? Have they been able to do 50,000 square feet of cannabis and successfully have crop after crop and grow thousands of pounds of cannabis doing it? Or did they try it once in like a little house grow and now they're trying to teach everybody how to do it?
Yeah.
And maybe even some of those guys are good, but I'm just kind of saying like, really with this stuff, you want to learn from somebody who's like really had their hands
on it.
And for me to be able to go out now and go help people, I mean, I hired a couple different people that have done it a lot, and Chris has done it a lot. Like we're making compost and IMO with like forklifts and tractors, like big piles of it.
Yeah.
And so that really shortcut my path to success, seeing it all happen right in front of my eyes and having my hands in it with them, with somebody who's like, smell that, taste that. That's what it's supposed to be like.
Yep.
Okay, do you see how it is right now? Okay, do you see how it is 3 days later? Mm-hmm. Or you see how it is? It's like the same thing if I wanted to learn how to make donuts or like eclairs, I would go hire a pastry chef and have my hands right there. I might watch a video and be like, okay, cool.
Get a concept of it.
Or like, I like this guy. I think I could vibe with this guy. I like this guy. Okay, now I'm going to hit the email or call him and say, hey, can I hire you?
Yes.
And I think I like your vibes. I like your video. I think it kind of... you build a lot of trust with video, and people kind of see how you are on video. Like this is a great platform, but I would reach out to people like you who know people in the network and say, hey, have you heard of this guy doing KNF? It's like, hold on, let me call Chris or let me call someone I know and say, have you heard of this guy? And get that trust, because I hate to say it, there's just a lot of people out there and they're trying to cash in off of living soil.
Yeah.
And I got all this biology in these bottles. I'll sell them to you and all that stuff. And yeah, just like anything with this, like I'd really get around the people, go to a workshop. Some of these guys are verified from Hawaii. They have this
100%.
little Hawaiian KNF like certification and get around some of these guys. As a matter of fact, the creator of Jadam is coming out in February.
Oh, really? I hear to call that.
He's coming. He's doing a tour across the country. One workshop in Northern California, one workshop in Houston, Texas, one workshop in Massachusetts, I think, all through February. And he's going to teach Jadam. So he's kind of the legacy of the KNF, his Master Cho's son.
Oh, okay.
And his son came in and created Jadam, all this natural pesticides. And all this kind of has a little bit different take on it. Doesn't use sugar. And and that's just for the viewers. The one difference between KNF and Jadam is KNF is consumable. It's like everything you make in KNF, a human can consume. Jadam is not necessarily that way. Jadam takes it way further to, I actually have a Jadam book, and it goes down into like composting feces. Like really getting down into completely consuming. So they use it on their food too. They close the loop for their waste products.
It's absolutely crazy. I do know that Chris Trump, from my understanding in the KNF world, Chris Trump is kind of the guru on the West.
And in the U.S., he's like the American. So really is. And
that was I'm not gonna lie. I studied all of his videos. I've watched and geeked out on Chris Trump's videos for a few years before I was like, I'm gonna like talk to people about this now. And
he's a great teacher too,
dude. I lost my mind when I found out that he was working. Like you guys were working on that farm together. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Nearby there's a farm that's doing this, and I didn't know what. Like,
I'm one step ahead. I'm out there trying to do things that are progressive, that are really cool, and with people that I really enjoy working with.
No, it's super
awesome.
So
it's just like getting around the right people, getting out to the classes, trying to push yourself. You really can't learn this stuff on video, man.
No,
you can't. I've watched the videos too, and you just no way.
Get a lot of the how-to. Like, okay, I get the steps of how to do this. But like we were talking labs, like I was talking with Chris about making labs, and I can make labs all day. I don't know if I was successful until I smell it. Same with you
put it in a microscope, you learn how to use the mic.
That's the thing. Like you can't learn that on a video. You have to have somebody handing and showing you, and that's really like, even as somebody who's more on the hobby side in the cultivation, I am still very much so into the education of it that I'm willing to invest. I've saved up about $1,500 so far to spend a week on Wendy's farm.
That's going to be awesome. Really, she's a good teacher too.
So I think there is something to, I think on any level, if you're serious enough about it, there's something to paying somebody who's like a verified expert, somebody who's like, I've done this, I've made it work. This is I know it. Here's some numbers I can show you to make you a little more comfortable on what I've experienced. But at the end of the day, you need to invest in somebody who can spend the time with you, because it's not a one-day course, right? Like I can't sit here with you for a day and learn KNF. It takes how long to ferment FFJ, FFA, IMOs,
some longer than others, but some of it's like a year-long process. And then beyond that, it's like using those inputs and seeing how things react, and having that experience of like, this is kind of like a new world where you're using these local ferments on this local soil, and you're recreating like kind of what's happened here, like historically, naturally. And except you kind of like turbocharge it on like hydrosteroids, because you're growing this biology with sugar, and you're creating probably bigger numbers than kind of exist like in an area outside of it, So like, that's how I think I look at it, and I'm like, dude, it grows fast. It's almost like hydro. It's like organic on steroids. Because the biology is like so concentrated, and we're spraying it all over there. And it's just, the fermentation, I've never seen things compost so fast. Things ferment and break down so fast, So it's really, man, it's exciting stuff. And it keeps it exciting, kind of where can we take this to the next level? And we're in a place where the planet really needs healing. And what you were talking about, the cannabis place, that's how I got into this, was like the ITAL, Jamaican ITAL living.
Yeah.
I used to be a vegetarian. I was really into the health aspect of everything. And then like when it went commercial, like the amount of plastic that they make you, these plastic pill bottles for 1 gram of weed.
Inside of another sealed Ziploc plastic bag.
With
and then
6
more
stickers
receipts
on it, with 6 different stickers on it and receipts and everything, all this stuff. And it's creating so much trash. So I've kind of really been on that side, is like, how can we minimize this as much as possible and try to get these products to people that are supposed to be like the natural choice, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, it's a big thing for the industry to take on, and for kind of all of us to keep working at, so that this place, we have a future in all this beautiful country that we live in. So,
well, I think I give you props, man, because it is to go out, as somebody who's a teacher myself, to go out and take that on. Like, we need to spread more of this and kind of step away from something, even if you're not directly hands-on in your own farm, to kind of step away and say, we need to spread more of this knowledge out, and to kind of go, you know what, I've done this and it's getting far. We're going to keep going here, but there's so much more to be done in order to help, because it is, dude, the regenerative farming thing, I think, is so much more than just growing cannabis.
Oh yeah.
And
our food supply. Or herbal medicine,
I think it's dope.
Or forest medicine.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I think it's dope. Cannabis made it like mainstream. Like, cannabis made KNF mainstream. I'm seeing guys in the traditional market doing like those 4x4 regenerative beds.
Oh yeah.
Like, I've got caregivers at home that are going into like growing their own banana trees and all this stuff, because they're now like, I'm farming my own input. Screw going to this and buying that.
Yeah, I love it.
And so, there's this whole thing of really like, cool. We don't quite get it, but we know it's there and we're going to try. And so the more people that have had, a decade or even a half a decade of experience really applying this large scale and on the home model, it's just going to cause that to go further and further. And I really see that traditional agriculture is going to start to sense some pressure.
Yeah.
There's going to be some pressure, because somebody at some point is going to go, I've figured out how to solve all this commercial agriculture issues that it's done to the earth. Like, I figured out how to remediate all of this. And that's like, it's going to be huge when we talk about, all these things, from climate change that we're looking at, this overuse of plastics that we have. Like, it's to a point where everybody's like, well, what do we do about all the waste? What do we do about all this global warming?
Yeah.
Maybe grow some plants on a level that's good for the planet.
Exactly.
Tearing it apart.
Exactly.
So thank you so much, James, dude. I really appreciate you coming by and doing this with us and letting us tour your garden, because what you're doing is on another level in commercial cannabis, I think, in Colorado. I still have yet to run into another farm that's doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's organic farms. There's some that are going the right, but I do not see another farm in Colorado going full on KNF legal the size you have.
Yep.
So props to you, and
thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Got any questions?
Yeah, just before we get going, I just wanted to ask, did you have anything that you wanted to tell the viewers that you have up and coming, that's pre-released, or like new strains or anything coming, new products or anything like that in the future?
Anything they need to check out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just getting ready to release maybe it was last year's hype rosin. It takes a long time, you guys, to build these genetics up to mothers, to get it to where I can cut hundreds of clones. But I'm excited that we're just about to release like the papaya and Poontang Pie, Taliman, Chem D, like a lot of really killer flavors and profiles out there for the public. And so just keep a lookout. You can go to edun.co, check out there, and we'll be updating people. And like I said, my personal Facebook, would love to add people and hook up and meet with people. And I'm not like this person that just like, I'm usually around answering questions, and I'll even like, sometimes I find people that like hit me up on Facebook and like, can we fly out there and come see the facility?
Yes.
And so I kind of like use social like that. It can be annoying, but I meet a lot of really cool people, I meet people like internationally in cannabis through social media. So I got my main Facebook, it's /James Brinkerhoff 00. you'll see me up there. Just add me and shoot me a message. Say you saw this podcast or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, if you're in the area and I'm around, I'm usually friendly and I'll bring people through like a 10-minute tour. And I'm still able to do that. I'm not that famous yet. So if you catch me now before it gets busy, no, I don't know. But if I have time, I like to share all this stuff with people. So that's just saying.
No, every time I've come up here, dude, you've been super, super humble and really hospitable. It's really nice to meet somebody in the commercial industry that gives me vibes like you do, man, because a lot of it is suit and tie business guys, and you don't meet a lot of actual farmers.
Yeah.
And I
bring that Humboldt vibes.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So.
Yeah, Northern Mendo.
Heck yeah, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you around.
Peace.
What's up, guys? Thank you all for checking that out. That was, I was super, super stoked on that. Just to be able to sit down and talk with James and get a little background on kind of him and where he came from and how this whole thing started. So I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. It gives you a little bit of a peek of what organic cultivation looks like on a commercial scale. And I know you just saw me and James talking. Wait for the pictures, you guys.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. They're about to see.
When you see this farm, it's in some of these pictures, that like it's kind of a small glimpse, and I'll have some video footage that we'll start posting up throughout the week too of kind of this process. And I'm telling you, it's absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. So before we go too much further, we want to do another giveaway. And then while everybody's like, we'll keep the mic live, so we'll be able to announce the winner. But we'll keep this, we'll let this slideshow go and let you guys answer for the next giveaway, which is going to be, we've got a little spoon pipe here. Very cool, not too fancy, but very dope. Functional, thick glass, nice bowl, blown very well. And then we've got some organic hemp wick, which I think this is really awesome, especially when you're trying to really pull flavor from something. You don't have a lot of contamination from a butane type lighter. So these hemp wicks are really, really cool when you're going flavor. And I love when you have a fresh, clean pipe that's never been smoked out of with fresh flower that you home grew and hit it with a hemp wick. It's on another level, dude.
From a local artist, too. That one's from Solstice Tattoo and Glass.
Oh, very cool. So, yes, this is hand blown by a local artist, which you can almost tell when you hold the glass and feel it in your hand. You can tell that there's quality in it, even on a smaller piece like this. So, So this is what we're giving away, folks. I've got a trivia question, and the answer was actually in that interview. So if you watch the interview, you should be able to kick this off pretty quick. So, question for the trivia is first person to spell it out. It's an acronym. The first person to spell out the acronym is going to be the winner. What does KNF stand for? And while everybody's Googling and typing in their answers, we're going to go ahead with this slideshow. So once again, what does KNF stand for? First person to type it out wins. Enjoy the slides, folks. Oh, Aaron with the quickness. Oh, no. Skylar put it in.
Skylar got it.
So does that mean he wins first and second?
No, that means he gets to choose whether or not
he gets the first place or the second place.
Yeah.
And then the runner-up of this one, or that goes to the...
We could do the runner-up. That'd be an easy way. That would be...
I think that was Aaron James. He was the next one to
Aaron
come in with
James.
that. Yep. Skylar says he'll take the first prize.
All right.
So, Aaron James, that sets you up for the spoon and the hemp wick, brother. We appreciate you, man. super, super appreciate your checking it out and sticking with us. You've been on a lot, like our last 3 videos I've seen you on here, so super appreciate it, brother. Definitely. Congratulations to everybody. Korean natural farming is the correct answer. And this system, this whole system, even Jadam, all kind of formulated by this gentleman out in Korea who was basically pressure on income and how do I farm without having to spend money? And he stepped into nature and just looked at nature and was like, oh, this functions on its own. How do I make this happen? And he just started going into how nature composts and what composts and where do we get all that from. And it turned into collecting indigenous microbes and fermented plant juices and fermented flowers. And it's so crazy.
Yeah.
And you can see I was talking to him. Some of these are in various forms of ripeness, anywhere from week 3 to week 5, I think he said. So there are some that are slowly ripening up. Even that trellis net that you see in some of those pictures is biodegradable. So they actually lay that trellis net on top and let the worms in their beds just completely eat it up. So that's that hemp rope trellis you see going through there is all biodegradable, which is really, really cool. There were, I'm trying to think, did we include some of the pictures of the worms? So
yeah,
okay.
Well, they're not up close, but yeah.
Okay, so we've got as these pictures cycle through, it's really cool because you'll see like what these beds look like without plants in them, and it really is kind of crazy to see. And you can see in week 3 these things are frosty as all can get out because they've selected these for hash.
Yeah.
So frosty as all can get out, and the smell on them is insane. I wish you could push that through the camera. I wish there was a way you guys could like scratch your screens and smell this, because some of the flowers in this garden were off the chain.
Yeah, super tasty smelling.
I'm waiting for...
I feel like
it's just cycling through like the same 3 pictures.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, wait, go to image. There was a lot more pictures we had on there.
Yeah. It shows a lot more pictures on there too. Maybe take off the loop.
Scratch and screen and sniff. Dude, I'm telling you, Aaron, there's something to that. Like, if somebody, I don't know how you do it. You'd have like a bunch of plant terpenes stored in your phone. And when you like push the button, it like sprayed them all in your face at once so that you could smell it. Man, we had some really cool pictures in there. We might have to post those up.
Yeah.
If they don't go through the website, like, because there was some really, really good pictures of some of the, like some good close-ups of the buds, and there was some really solid soil shots. And we got back, so we did the interview, we did the tour, did the interview, and then hustled back and started setting everything up so that we could get, the show going. And we definitely, getting the pictures going was kind of a pain in the butt.
Here's the soil one.
So here's a picture of the soil, and this is kind of their concept of chop and drop. So they grow a bunch of vegetation in the soil and then add worms and compost and what's called indigenous microbes, and all that stuff breaks down all that plant material, and then that feeds back to the plants when they plant in there. So this is kind of how they keep the soil alive, is just by keeping a root, like a living root system in there, and then slowly adding compost on top. Part of that is again, he was talking about collecting, like when he hikes out into the mountains and does all these indigenous microbe collections, is what he's doing is he's setting traps and he's collecting like actual biology. So he's using like a cedar box with barely cooked rice in it, and he's setting that out on top of like these areas of mycelium that he's found. And he's really letting that grow in the rice, and then he brings it back to his farm, kind of goes through a process of storing it and repopulating it, and then he's able to add that on top of his piles, like in the form of wood chips. And the biology that comes inside those wood chips just acts as a super composter, and all that food gets broken down extremely. Kind of see like the overall of their facility and really like how they cycle through their beds, and they're all about 3-foot cedar beds, I believe, and they're packed in there, and they reuse that soil over and over and over and over, and they just constantly are letting it break down and just lasagna layering with it. Compost IMO. It's an absolute trip. Even to the sense where he's growing a banana tree in the back, which is really crazy. Here, maybe you can see.
Oh yeah, the banana tree one.
Yeah.
This is all the more of
the plant stuff that he's got like grasses and different kinds of like mints and thyme and sage and
balms.
Lemon balms and grass balms and basically stuff to help deter insects. So that's kind of like what his companion planting is. So this is what he's growing in those beds when he doesn't have any plants in them again, and those are working as like a pest prevention, and they're helping kind of keep the bugs away. So this picture coming up is us behind me and James in front of the banana tree, and this is like inside their greenhouse as we scale the picture down. But this is inside their greenhouse. We're kind of sitting in front of the bed, and you can see that big banana tree in the back. And that's the kind of stuff that they do, like aloe and banana, and they got all kinds of stuff. And they'll use that to make like plant ferments and all kinds of stuff to feed back to that cannabis, which all of that is biologically driven, fungus and bacteria driven.
Some great plants in the background there, though.
Oh, they're super healthy. Like, I tried to get some pictures on my phone of like some of the plants that were praying. Like some of the plants were so happy that their upper fan leaves were almost like touching tips, like standing completely vertically up. And you don't really see that a lot in commercial grows where they're praying like almost insanely hard.
Yeah.
No, it's absolutely insane how that how they're able to function on a commercial level and make it work and really reduce their overhead. So this is just kind of further along. I'm going to have some interviews with some other people in the K&F world to really kind of go into how can we, even as home gardeners or people on the commercial scale, how can we go about this and start learning this process to where we can get off of bottled nutrients? I don't want to say completely eliminate the need for a gardening center, but you very much reduce what you spend on stuff that's going into your plant that you don't necessarily get back. So when we start talking about like irrigation systems and pots and supplemental lighting and environmental control for indoors, like all of these things are very much feasible. And I think there's a viable way to use Korean natural farming and really change what growing cannabis is, even at home and on this commercial level. So I'm really excited to bring on some other guests. I'm hoping for Wendy Kornberg from Sunabis Farms, who's like she's kind of the outdoor cannabis K&F guru out in California. I'm going to her farm for a week to kind of learn. And then Miles from Weed Should Taste Good, I'd like to have him out here too, because he does a lot of the fermented plant stuff.
I really want to try this in an FPJ.
Yeah.
Because we'll squish it in your hand and see how much oil comes out of it.
Oh, yeah, there's a ton.
There's a ton of liquid in there.
So you could probably use this for an oriental herbal nutrient. You got to dry it out. There's so certain stuff for an FPJ you can use, like not all plants you can use. I don't really use FPJs because I learned that there's a certain way to apply. So if you can't eat that, if it's not safe for human consumption, then you can't make an FPJ out of it.
I wonder if you can do it.
But in the Jadam world, there is a way to turn that into a pest control product.
Oh yeah, I definitely use that.
We can pull the oil in the Jadam world, which is still part of regenerative farming. It's just not suitable for human consumption. But in the Jadam world, you're able to utilize that as a pest preventative. And that's really, again, the two methods, and we talked about it in the interview. One method is very much suitable for human consumption, which is the K&F world, but it kind of limits you. So Jadam, while not suitable for human consumption, they offer pest control remedies and things like that allow you to utilize what you have at home and be able to combat the problem that you have. So if I'm growing thyme and sage and rosemary and basil and clove and all this stuff, and I know that those things are suitable for pest prevention, then I can use a Jadam method to be able to extract those oils, make them into a pest control product to be able to wipe out thrips, spider mites, stuff like that. And even onto a level of companion planting. We were talking about this earlier, just having a plant like that, or even this one right here, having those in your garden, citronella, and what was you saying that one was?
Mentholanium.
Mentholanium. So having those in your garden, just growing, can help prevent pests. The mentholanium is really a trippy looking plant, and you can tell it's got very fuzzy leaves, and the fuzz on that leaves are trichomes.
Yeah.
And typically those are full of oil, and the plant itself is very terpene rich, which is a great pest prevention. That's why plants produce terpenes. So no, it's really, really cool. And I'm excited to kind of bring this forward because I think more people need information on Korean natural farming and what it actually offers. Because me and Miles from Weed Should Taste Good talk a lot. We spend a long time talking K&F and what is it and how is it implemented. And there's certain rules, but you don't always have to follow those rules. And I always compare it to martial arts because of the way that system, it's very K&F, Korean natural farming and Jadam and regenerative farming as a whole is very much like Junfan Jeet Kune Do, where you're taking little pieces of this and it works and this works. And
well, what about just living soil in general? Because I know there's a lot of living soil practices that are fairly similar.
So, and that's the thing, the whole Jadam and K&F regenerative is all about living soil.
Yeah.
So the whole no-till practice, anything that when you start putting living soil on that, we're literally talking about bringing soil alive. So you can do that via two methods. You can constantly be putting in inputs of biology. And if you're buying that biology from the store, you're typically going to have a realm where one species is out competing another species. So you end up with very little diversity. So you have to go out and buy a bunch of products constantly and add those in, along with whatever top dress compost. And, if you're collecting leaf mulch material and using that, that's part of Jadam. So now we're starting to take tools from regenerative farming. And so when we go full into regenerative farming, we're well, if I'm buying all of this biology from the store, why wouldn't can I just go collect some from outside because it's all over the place? Yeah, you can do that. Here's how you do that. That's K&F. So now you're like, well, I've got these bugs, but I don't want to go to the store and buy a pest control product, even though they know they have some clean organic ones that I can use. Oh, well, here, this is how you make it. This is how you make that. That's Jadam. So there's all these different like fermentation biology methods that we're adding to the plants in the soil, and that's all that's living. That's all the biology is what's living. So are we doing it for as cheaply as possible, or are we sourcing from places like, if you can go get a composting bacteria or fungus from your backyard that works in your grow, why wouldn't you get that instead of spending $40 at a store for a bacteria that came all the way out from wherever it was grown?
Yeah.
So there's a level of like, you can do it, but just like, okay, so I know a lot of K&F guys who will like people, not, I don't want to say K&F guys, people who are just learning about K&F and learning about FPJ and FFJ. And so they'll go to the store and buy like bananas and banana flour and stuff like this, and then bring it home and ferment that. Well, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
It's still the process, but it defeats the purpose. So there's kind of like, and that's why I say there's like rules. And this is why James in the interview was talking about, getting somebody that knows the system and has made it work, because it's like you can make FPJ, but if you don't know how to properly apply FPJ, you can do damage or make things worse. So there's kind of this like element of like, okay, when and how to apply this stuff is pretty critical. How you make it and what you end up with, and understanding that process is pretty critical. And so there's kind of this element of like, I can learn this. Like collecting IMO is something I think you can learn at home pretty quickly, especially with social media. And that's kind of the first part. And then making your own compost is kind of the second part. Is like, if you can if you can start learning how to compost and start learning how to collect beneficial microorganisms from locally, like your backyard, and then like James was saying, from up here in the mountain and up over here in the mountain and over here in the mountain, whether you're in a field or a mountain or whatever, this works all over the place. We were talking about doing it in the desert, which I really want to do. I would love to try and go do some microbe collections in the desert.
We got several different types of desert in our area, where in a specific location that has a ton of prehistoric biomes around us. So we have very specific types of
super unique biology.
Oh yeah.
And that's just it. Like, to go hit out in Rabbit Valley and do some collections. Yeah, there's biology there that's probably pretty unique.
And then, so we got a bunch of volcanic activity around us too. So we got even more of a diverse.
Which comes into, like, when you look at the volcanic activity, that starts falling out into the realm of my boy Clayton's biochar thing. Like, I've heard of people using lava rock and biochar very similarly in how it works. So it's like that type of stuff is huge when you're looking at like, how are we building our soil, and how are we keeping the soil alive? And that's where the term living soil comes from, because once you keep the soil alive, happy, and healthy, now you don't have to do shit for your plants. You literally might prune them and look at them, but you really don't feed them. You don't monitor their nutrient, because they do it all on their own. When they're ready to be harvested, they tell you when they're ready to be harvested. They communicate that with the soil, and the soil goes, okay, no more food for you. We're going to feed this plant. And there's a whole process. It's fascinating to me, because of how quickly you can bring crap soil. Like, I'm talking like fill dirt from like all the residential backfill when they decide to do make a subdivision or something, right? And they bring in all this fill dirt and level everything out, build the house on top, and then put down some mulch material and throw some grass up, and they're like, okay, this is good. So you got, like in my backyard, it's like 18 inches of fill dirt, which is trash to grow in. You don't know what kind of contaminants are in there. I saw glass, plastic, little oil. It was weird. So like, to be able to, I dug out some holes about 3 feet deep, and I filled them with good soil and started building the biology on top of that. Like the hugelkultur essentially, but it's an IMO pocket. Like that little hole is a biology pocket. And over a year, there's about an inch outside of where that hole is that's like the fill dirt that's been like turned into healthy soil. So like every year, the biology from that hugelkultur bed is just going to like leach out in the rest of my crap soil. And you can already, after 1 year, you can already see it. So like to build a living soil bed on top of a spot of crap soil, if you really keep that living soil bed alive, you could move that bed and probably go down about 2 feet, and that soil would be like remediated on like from the trash, like filled dirt, crap, whatever they put it. It's fascinating to me how when you start getting a shit ton of biology diversity, you can completely transform the medium of the grow. Like, crazy. And
if you don't have filled dirt around here, you have this oil shale clay, and you either have bad dirt or bad dirt around here. Yep. I'm just saying.
So that was one thing that I was hoping James would say in the interview. And this is most KNF, and I bet Wendy and Miles would both tell you this. Soil sample.
Yep.
Getting a soil sample, like if you're really looking to go into the KNF, you kind of have two options. Get a soil sample and see what you need to do to bring that into a healthy soil that has proper drainage, proper loam, clay. Like, again, James from Eden was sand, silt, local sand, silt, and clay. You start with that, and then you start adding compost and biology, and you get a healthy medium. But if you're working with what's in your backyard, you have to kind of get a soil test to see what's present so you know what to add or what not to add. It'll probably even tell you if that soil is safe to grow in. Like we were talking about it on our way up to Eden's garden. How around here, a lot of that backfill dirt is filled with uranium deposit. So radon monitoring around here is pretty huge. Like if you've got a basement, it's pretty much like make sure you check it for radon, and if there's slight signs of radon, you have to put a radon detector in there. Like, it's kind of a nightmare. I got lucky with where I live because Orchard Mesa was orchards at that time, so there was no radon dumping happening up there. So I don't know how the fill dirt is, which is why I dug out that bed. As soon as they turned all that into subdivision, I'm like, I don't know where that came from. I don't know, but I know below that is very clean dirt. But yeah, dude, you have to watch out for that and test it and see, like, you might have some lead and some other stuff. But the good news is that they're like beneficial microbes and bacteria can remediate that. Like
plants can too.
Yeah. So here's an example that's really fascinated me for a couple years. They discovered a fungus in Chernobyl that consumes radiation from the ground. So it pulls the radiation out of the ground and it deposits it into its head. So the mushroom fruit is extremely radioactive. But it turns all that radioactive material pulled from the ground into carbon.
Oh.
Once that mushroom dies, it turns it into carbon. It's so crazy. So they found like mushrooms that can remediate radiation. There's recent discovery of a mushroom that consumes plastic. So now they're like, could this be beneficial in landfills? So when we really talk about like what fungus and bacteria is capable of, it's on a level that I don't think people can really comprehend. The fact that fungus, there's probably a fungus out there that eats only metal. And if you found it, cultivated it, you could put it on a building and eat it in a day and a half. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much bacteria and fungus out there that we don't even know about. And all of that, most of the fungus is decomposing, which means it's consuming something and turning it into carbon. Or it's consuming something, turning it into something else. So most of that in the ground happens because of the concept of living soil, which is basically we're trying to replicate the forest floor, trying to replicate what's happening underneath our feet. That's, I think, insanely complex. Like, there's mycelium running under the floorboards of this studio that we're in. connecting one tree to another tree that connects all the grass, and it's communicating. Even now, while everything's dormant, there's some biology somehow communicating something through these plants. And it's been happening for ever since plants have been alive. It just blows my mind. So this is some of the flour that James hooked us up with from Eden, and the cure on it is fantastic. Like it's not overly dry. It smells phenomenal. And we puffed on a little bit of a joint earlier, and it tastes amazing. Again, he said they're not really doing too much flour, but with the way this flour tastes,
they should.
Their concentrates are going to be off the chart, dude. Like, I can't wait for us to take a trip into Rifle and pick up some of their like rosin carts and some of their their true rosin, because it's definitely on another level. And I think that farm and the product they're making definitely deserves some recognition for what they're doing. And I really think like once they get their rosin game down, they're going to be up there with those 710 Labs guys. Like really.
Is that?
This is the other one. No, this is the apple pie a la mode. Sorry, okay. This is mine. I was going to say, if you wanted to twist that up and puff on it, go for it, my friend. But yeah.
That's that GMO.
Oh, yeah. So Clayton's like, the biology changes to our pollutants. Mother Nature will always adapt. 100%, dude. Hey, of course, dude, Clayton, I really appreciate you popping in on my live, brother, dude. The love is always great, and I'm hoping to get out there maybe before April. We need to get in touch. I know you've been on the road and busy lately, but we definitely need to get in touch. I'd love to be able to rep Third Eye on this dope little podcast thing we got going on right here. I'm all about bringing on people who are right in the community, you know what I mean, as far as that type of stuff. So we should definitely talk more and see what we can do on getting you some, maybe even an interview on here to talk about some of your biochar and give us a little bit of a schooling on what biochar is and how it works with our soil, because I know a little bit, but it's always better to hear from somebody who knows, a lot bit.
100%.
And as far as I'm concerned, you're my biochar guy, bro. You're my biochar guy. So, and I tell you, again, there's a lot of dope people, a lot of dope stuff happening out in Missouri. There's this, I got linked up with this chick out there who does this worm castings company called Worm Poupon. And supposed to be pretty legit, though. I want to get my hands on it just to try. Like, homemade worm castings are always better. So, we'll wrap it up. We've got about 15 minutes left on this show. I just kind of want to circle everything up and talk about really where we're going as an industry. And this is why I really am so pro regenerative farming, because as I see it in Colorado right now, and I am kind of jaded in the sense that I don't get to see all the other states' markets. But as I see it right now, there's a ton of waste. There's a ton of areas where I think we could clean it up. And I know in Colorado, we're so heavily regulated that it costs so dang much money that you're just like a lot of farms are just trying to keep their head above water. And I really do believe that there's an element, a reason for change coming up. And as we approach more and more states becoming legal and national legalization becoming more and more of a thing, like we really need to look at how is this, not necessarily how's the industry structured, but how are we farming cannabis? And as people who are strong representatives for Mother Nature, I think a lot of us are very, very much like, we want to make sure that the earth that we're cultivating our plants in is healthy, because our plant is a bioaccumulator. So in the essence of trying to make sure it's healthy, we end up repairing a lot of the damage that we do in agriculture. So I think any step you take to getting away from synthetic nutrients is the right step. And the more we can move forward to this element of, closing this loop and sourcing everything as closely as we can and producing as little waste as possible in an industry that forces us to use plastics and disposable this and all of this paper and tape and plastic and marketing, and I don't know, like there's so much that goes into just the selling of the product that I think like on the farmer's end, it's almost our responsibility to try and make up for that. Because if we're putting it out on the market, then it's kind of our responsibility to be like, well, if we're creating this product that requires so much trash, then we need to start cleaning up on our end and be more tight that way. And it really does like speak out volumes in quality when you're talking like to smoke some commercial cannabis and be like, wow, this is really nice. It looks good. It tastes good. It smells good. It was stored well. And granted, that was from his personal stash, so
it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good, but
just saying. Yeah, no, that's dank.
It's there, and his rosin, dude, is on point. Like, again, there's always room for improvement, but he's getting there. The rosin thing is still new, so I don't know. It's something that I think across the board, when you start really looking at quality, and as a podcast who looks at quality, we do these reviews and we look at like, oh, how is this? How is this? Are you going to like it? And there's a level on commercial, but to be able to do those reviews and kind of go, oh, wow, the organic grown flower still seems to come out on top of everything else. And that's why I'm excited to show you Hava Gardens, because they have some really good, like they do some good organic. It's not regenerative, but they go towards the organic, like bottled nutrient side and top dressing and stuff. And their flower is noticeably different.
I got some buddies that work over at Hava, and yeah, I think they got some good work. I've seen some good pictures from their gardens.
Yep. So like the next step up from that is like what Eden's doing. And I think even if you're not doing what Eden's doing, to focus and look at like clean inputs and be like, you know what, I'm feeding my plants stuff that they would normally eat, and not necessarily something that's been formulated in a lab. I don't know. It's definitely kind of a trip. Yeah, definitely, you guys look into regenerative farming. Read into how to, at the very least, read into how to collect your own biology. Read in, like, at least start at IMO collection and learn there.
Yeah.
Or even making your own labs, like making your own lactobacillus. There's a little bit of a learning curve there. But just applying biology, like a diversity of biology to your garden, indoor or out, will make a massive difference.
You could very easily start with, like, a worm farm and go from there. Honestly, kind of do a worm farm, and then honestly, I would jump to what is it called? Not kombucha, but the other stuff that you put in the bins that makes it biodegrade.
Bokashi.
Bokashi, that's it.
So making your own bokashi is starting off with making labs. So bokashi is lactobacillus that you've put dormant and then fed in grain. So now you've stored it to where it's easy to inoculate. You can spray labs though without going into bokashi. And okay, so Clayton's biochar and bokashi probably have a similar vibe to them.
Yeah.
I'm sure Clayton's biochar has a little bit more than just lactobacillus in it.
Yeah.
But you can very much do that at home and I know. And use it as a spray. Like my wife's been on this crazy stint of like trying to find the right hair product, and I love her to death. It's so funny. She'll find a product, it doesn't work. She'll find another product, it doesn't work. And I'm about to start making some labs for the garden, and I'm like, I'm gonna give you a teaspoon of this for your hair and for your stomach. And you're gonna take this 2 or 3 times a week. And the labs will correct biology. So that's what the kombucha, the bokashi. So that labs, it's very similar in kombucha. So there's like a bacteria or fungus, or I don't know what to call it. Yeah. It's good for your stomach. It's good for your hair. It's good for your pets. It's good for your nails. It's good for your skin. Like, it's good for your plants. But when you're done making labs, you have cheese. So when you make labs, you're basically making curds and whey. And the whey is what you're basically giving to your plants, from my understanding. And the curds is the cheese. And you squeeze it, boil it down, press it, add some flavor, boil it down, mix it up. You get whatever different consistencies, and it's called farmer's cheese. And it's absolutely, absolutely fantastic. All you need is some dirty rice that you can wash. So it's just like white rice, and you get the first wash off the rice so that it's like all that starch, and 2% milk. And if you go to Chris Trump's on YouTube, you can see how he makes labs, and you just use those ratios, let them sit. And there is a proper smell to labs. Like, it should smell kind of sweet and creamy, not really vinegary or off. Like, it's pretty dope. So, before I get too wrapped up into going in super crazy into KNF and how much I love it and how I think everybody needs to do KNF, I think we have one more spin number giveaway to do.
Yeah.
So here is tonight's final prize. We have this little chopsticks dab rig. It's super sick. It looks like a Chinese takeout box.
From Hemper.
Yep. And it's like the pole is 2 chopsticks, and one of them is open and one of them is not. When I first saw this, I wanted to stick both up my nose and take a big old dab, and then I realized I couldn't. But I think if you had some... Anyways. This is tonight's giveaway. We're going to do pick a number. So everybody watching, we're going to go ahead and pick a number between 1 and we'll stick with 30.
Yep.
Let's everybody make sure you what should we say, tag somebody and pick a number. You already
Sure.
Most people have already tagged somebody, so let's just pick a number.
Oof.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Oof. That's going to be a hard one.
Yep. Pick a number between 1 and 30, and we really, really appreciate you guys for hanging out with us and checking out this podcast, because it's been an absolute blast.
We really appreciate you watching, seeing these interviews that we had going on tonight, and just hanging out and smoking with us.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast. I love it, and it's slowly building. We're not, by far not professionals, but it's slowly building, and we're slowly getting a little bit invested, and it's definitely going to be a process, but I'm excited for some really cool content.
Rachel was close.
As we get bigger and bigger, I'm really stoked for some of the content that we're going to be able to bring you guys. Picking a number between 1 and 30. Make sure you get that number between 1 and 30. 44 is way outside it. Danny, congratulations, brother. We have a winner.
Congratulations, Danny.
All right, brother. Danny Lugged? I swear I butchered that, but congratulations, Danny. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate the support and the love. Yeah, dude. Congratulations on that. You are the winner of a dope Chinese takeout box from Hemper. So, hey, thank you, Tamara. I really try and I think education, I think there is some room for fun content, but I think in our industry and in the cannabis world, there's a lot of room for education. So, yeah. Danny, send us a DM and with your address and all that stuff, and we'll get this out to you around the end of the week or so.
I was gonna say, let's look at these cool pictures again, because
Yeah.
they had some dope pictures.
Yeah, let's definitely do that while we're closing out and hanging out. Hey, cool, Danny. Cool. We'll look forward to hearing from you, brother. Hey, good to see you back on, Aaron. We just did our last giveaway. We're showing off a few of the flower pictures from the grow. We tried to do a little slideshow thing, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it wasn't really working out too well.
Yeah. Make sure you guys follow us. Make sure you're following this page and kind of staying up on some of the content, because especially from this interview, I got a lot of pictures to, a 2-hour video basically. So I figure we take that and just extend it into some super dope content. So all of the farm pictures that you're going to see over, the next few episodes and even at the end of the week on the page, you're going to see a lot of some of the cool stuff that these guys are doing, because their garden is gorgeous. Dude, pictures don't even do it justice, to be honest with you.
Definitely.
Cool. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out, ask me. If you guys are planning on coming through our way, if you're like, I want to go see that garden that these guys were at, they were super open about offering to give tours, hit me up. I'll reach out to James. He's the owner. I'll set something up. I can get a tour. It might not be with James, but I'll set something up and we'll get a tour. And I would love, anybody that wants the opportunity to see this firsthand. That's what I love about James, is he's so willing to be like, yeah, come on out, we'll work it out. So definitely, if you guys are interested in that, hit me up and I will gladly work something out with you. And I can't wait to link up with a lot of you guys out in Missouri come April. Hopefully, as this podcast grows, we can start traveling and seeing some more of you guys in some of the other states. I really hope to be able to, kind of go out and podcast from some cups and some, trade shows and just some cool shit like that, and be able to set up. And
I hope Dude Grow Show has their cup, man.
Yeah.
Dude, that's gonna be dope.
Well, and even if we can get something going on at like Bongathon, like there's stuff all over. And
oh yeah,
yeah, my buddy Miles has like all the down low on that cool shit. So
I need water. All right, guys.
Thank you all.
Appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, 6 o'clock.
Colorado Canatopia. All of these awesome platforms you can now watch on.
Now on Spotify, too.
Oh, so if you're on the go and you need to listen to us, you can hop on Spotify. All right, guys, I want to thank also Brother Mendel Selections, Eden Supernatural Gardens. It's really awesome to be able to make cool content like this and slowly kind of build something, create something. It very much feels like art to me, where, you're starting with just kind of nothing almost and building it up into like, all right, well, we've got this kind of mold of something. Let's see what we can turn it into. And, the fact that I'm working from home for Brother Mendel Selections really gives me an opportunity to be flexible with my schedule, to be able to go out and do interviews and come over here and hang out and be able to do these. And then, places like Eden Supernatural Gardens that are so open to having people come tour their gardens allows us to build some content. So, huge thanks, huge shout out to those guys, and big shout out to all our viewers for sticking with us. And please